All right. Now we're doing 6Q, Season 2, Rectangle into Squares. This is by G964, and 90% of people like it. So the drawing below gives an idea of how to cut a given true rectangle into squares. True rectangle meaning that the two dimensions are different, all right? So basically here we've got a 5 by 3, and then we cut off 3 because that's the smaller of the length and the width. And now we've got this, and so it's going to be 3 by 2. We cut off the 2 by 2 because that's the smaller of the length and width, and then now we got a 2 by 1. We cut off one of them because that's the smaller of the two, and now we've got a 1 by 1, and we're done. All right. So can we translate this drawing into an algorithm? Yes, we can. Obama. I'm just kidding. Was that cool? I hope President Obama doesn't get mad at me. Anyway, we will be given two dimensions, a positive integer length and a positive integer width. We will return a collection or a string depending on the language. We're going to return an array, believe it or not, with the size of each of the squares. All right, so here's the example in general form. We're going to have something like this, 5 and 3, and it should return 3, which is the lowest, and then 2, which would be the lowest after we get rid of the 3, and then 1, which is the lowest after we get rid of the 2, and then 1 after we get rid of the 1. All right, so notes. Length equals width as a starting case would be an entirely different problem, and the drawing is planned to be interpreted with length does not equal width, believe it or not. When the initial parameters are so that length does equal width, the solution length would be the most obvious, but not in the spirit of this kata, so in this case we're going to return null, all right? In that case, the returned structure, okay, we don't do that, and this has nothing to do with us either. All right, so basically what we're going to do is recursion to slice these off, and then we're going to go through it once and slice it off, then go through it again and go through it again and go through it again, however many times it takes. If you don't know about recursion, we got the page right here. I'll leave a link in the description, I should say. And well, let's get started. So first things first, we'll say const square in rect equals length width. We're going to change this into L and W. All right. And then we're going to come over here and have an arrow here and say console.log so that we can test while we go. Pardon me. So basically length and width, we don't really even need to check what it is. It's going to be either 5 and 5 or 5 and 3, whatever, all right? So the first step here we're going to do is we're going to say if length is greater than width, all right? Question mark. And so this question mark here is part of the ternary operator. If you don't know about it, we've got it right here, and a link in the description as the same as this one, and spread syntax too. We'll talk about spread syntax in a little bit. So we're going to say if these two, if length is greater than width, what we're going to do is we're going to say squ in rect, all right? And then we're going to say length minus width. So we're going to do this all over again inside of itself. We're going to say length minus width is going to be the new length, all right? We're going to say width is now still the width, all right, because it was bigger, so it can just stay the same. We're not going to be cutting. No, it was smaller, so we're not going to be cutting the width down right now. And then right here, we're going to have to do something with the array. So we're going to come up here to the arguments list, and we're going to add a for array right here, and we're going to say array equals an empty array right there. So now we've got an initial value right there, so we can push stuff into it. So what we're going to do here is we're going to say, after that, pardon me, we're going to say this right here, array, and then we're going to have the array in front of it, whatever's in the array already, which in this case is nothing. But the thing is, inside of an array, we can't just, if we put a in there, it's going to be an array in an array. So we're going to use spread syntax ... so that it'll unpack the array and put it into this new array. Hopefully that makes sense. If not, just read about spread syntax right here. Look at a bunch of videos that I've used this with, and you'll know exactly how this thing works. But also link in the description. So we've got this, and then we're also going to add the width to it because it's the smaller one. So even if it's empty, it will have the width in it if the width is smaller. So there's that. Now we've got, so there's the thing if length is larger than width. Now if width is larger, what we're going to do is we're just going to switch them around. We're just going to say square in rect, and then we'll have the width here instead of the length. We'll have the length here instead of the width, and we'll just leave whatever the array is the same because it doesn't really matter. All right? So now that looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. Let's test it out. Uh-oh, what's the dealio? Well, it could be because it's null, right? So let's take this one out of here and test it again, all right? Test it, kidding me. Test it. So here this is same problem. Why? Because this last one is a square, right? And if it's a square, then length will not be less than width. Width will not be less than length. It will just confuse itself forever. So we have to do something about that by saying if length equals width, what we're going to do here is we're going to say, first we're going to check to see if this thing even has, if the array has anything in it. If it doesn't, we're going to do a null. But if it does, what we're going to do, let's say a.length. I don't know why that was so slow. Anyway, we're going to say a.length. If a.length exists, what we're going to do is we're going to say a. We're going to do another spread syntax on the array itself, and we're going to put the length in there. We can put the width in there, it doesn't matter, but we're going to put the length in there just because the length is first. And if not, if it doesn't exist, we're going to do like it says right here and put null. So we'll just say null like thus. So it's going to just keep going in and around and in and through, and it will figure out what's going on at the end of it, all right? So let's check to see if this works. Oh yeah, and also let's do this. So if this equals this, if this is the case, we're going to do this, and if not, we're going to check to see if length is greater than width, and we'll do it this way. So now let's test it again and see what's going on. All right, so we've got undefined, undefined, undefined. I don't really know exactly why all these undefineds come up, but you know what does come up? The answer before this. So let's see if it works before we go and change anything else. Test it out. And voila, just like that. Oh, but what if old G964 is tricking us and we got to do something else? Let's test it. Let's attempt it. Oh, it's still good. Still good. It took a long time. Oh, no, never mind. 7 milliseconds. That's fine. All right, so let's submit it and see what we got going on over here. All right, so right here, TomCon and 114 of his crew buddies did it like this. And so what are we doing here, Tom? So they declared the array, the empty array right here. If this is the case, return null. While this is greater than 0 and width is greater than 0, we're going to do r.push. And if length is greater than width, we'll push the width in there. Yes, because the width is smaller. And if not, we'll put the length. I like this way. This is nice. And then, oh yeah, it's a while loop. So the second line, and then it'll do this. And then also, if length is greater than width, we'll say length minus equals width. So we'll just get rid of the width part from the length. And then if not, we'll get rid of the length part from the width. And then we'll return the array. I like this one. This is nice. I'll give you a clever, my friend. So we got Slokowski and friends, and we'll see this. If A equals B, we'll do the null thing, and if not, we'll just return A inside of this. Const max min. So we'll have the min here. All right. So we'll put the min here, and then comma, and then we'll do recursion of this all over again to find the min. So we'll put the min here, min here, min here, and then this false. If initial is true, initial, How interesting. Anyway, I don't know what's going on here. We could check the comments. Why should we return A? Because the return value... Anyway, if you want to check all those out, you can. Let's go over to mine. Just me on this one. Best practice in my opinion. Very much like it. And we'll see you next time.